Hey everyone, welcome back to the TTA Performance YouTube channel. So the video that you're about to see here, let me go over some things. I shot some of this video a while back when I was at the old house, the old garage. And I want to give a little background because the video is not the best, so I'm probably going to edit. It's just going to get edited and cut up and kind of pieced together. So this is a special project. Customer sent me a 1978 Pontiac Trans Am. This is what they call a Macho TA. And for those of you not familiar with the Macho TA, there was a dealership in Arizona called Meckham Pontiac. And the owner of Meckham Pontiac had two sons, Dennis and Kyle. And Dennis and Kyle in the mid to late 70s decided to take the Trans Am and kind of make a tuner package for it. I relate it similar to like how you had Baldwin Motion doing Chevrolets, you know, along with like Yanko and stuff like that. Customer sent me this car, and what's unique about this car is that H-O Racing had a turbocharger for the Pontiac 400, and it was for the any of the Pontiac V8s. It was kind of an interesting setup. It used, well, you'll see in the video the type of turbo that was used and the configuration of it and what was special about it. In fact, you can still find that information out on like wallaceracing.com. There was also an article in Hot Rod Magazine not too long ago that they were building a Pontiac V8 with one of these kits on it. So the customer goes and purchases this car. This is number 199. It is one of 8 Macho TAs in 1978 to come with the H-O Racing Turboforce kit. Now, what makes this car even more special and makes it one of one is the fact that it was the only automatic car that was built. Out of the 8 Macho TAs that were equipped with the Turboforce kit, the 7 of them were 4 speeds. This one's the only automatic. The car came to me running and driving, and it has a 67-400 in it, which you'll see in the video, with no turbo on it. The turbo was actually in the trunk of the car, most of the kit. It wasn't a complete kit, but it was close. So this video is going to kind of show, well, this first installment of the video is going to show a 400 that we're going to build for it. It doesn't look like much, but it is a 78 400, and this is the W72 option, or the this was Pontiac's like top of the line 400. Some of you have heard of it. The W72 option was the 220 horsepower 400. Basically, Pontiac had they had revived the stronger, older 400 block. This is not what the Pontiac hobbyists call the 557 block. It is not that. In fact, we can probably see what the casting number is. You can see right there, and the 2 X's right here denote that it is a W72 option. So this is the older style casting, the thicker style casting, as far as the block. Then they went to the shelf and they picked out some 6X-4 cylinder heads that were from the Pontiac 350. I believe they're 94cc combustion chambers, and that actually raised the compression a little bit. And then they put a little hotter cam, they curved the distributor, jetted the carb, and basically made 220 horsepower with it. They offered this engine from 77 to 79. By late 78 and all of 79, this engine was only available with a 4-speed. Now, the car that we're putting it in is again, the 78 Macho TA, Macho number 199 is getting this engine. It is an automatic car. It is not a 4-speed car. But we wanted to go period correct. We wanted it to be stronger since we are going to be putting a turbo on it. This one's also going to get fuel injection. It's kind of the only deviation that we're going to do is put EFI on it, because it's a bear to try to blow through the Quadrajet, and I didn't want to have to attempt that. So this is going to be part 1 of the series. Basically, it's just going to be tear down. I've already started taking it apart. We're going to kind of go through, see what it is, some of the things that I'll do to it before it goes off to the machine shop, and then we'll slowly see the build. So let's dive into it and let's see what we got under here. Okay, got the cylinder heads off, and well, one of the things is we got a broken head bolt right here. It's stuck inside the block, but we'll let the machine shop worry about getting that out. Get a better angle here. It doesn't look pretty. It is a standard bore 400. This motor does turn over though, but I mean it doesn't. It looks ugly, but it's definitely savable. We do have some little bit of pitting. It's not even deep. It feels smooth. It just looks ugly in the cylinder wall there. But we'll get the pistons out of it, take a closer look. It's going to need an over bore. There's no way we're going to save it as a standard bore. Again, we see the XX here. That's a W72 block. And I think we got a, oh, can we focus in on that? There's an X7 stamping, again, W72. This side, same thing. You know, kind of, it's not pretty, but everything does move and move smoothly. We got like some kind of residue, gooky, messy, whatever in there. The camshaft didn't look bad. I pulled the cam out. Nothing was rounded off. It looks like a stock cam, but let's get some pistons out of it next. Okay, got the motor disassembled. Crankshaft's out. All the pistons and connecting rods are out. If anybody was curious about the rope seal for the rear main seal, this is what it looks like. Actually, part of this one's missing. I'm sure that was a nice leak. But this is the rope seal. You can, oh, actually I can just pull it right out. This is what normally ends up leaking on one of these Pontiac engines. I like to use the BOP Engineering Viton seal. It's like a Viton rubber seal. I get it from BOP Engineering directly. Wade, giving him a shout out. Go see him. He's got a lot of Pontiac parts, engine parts, things like that if you need anything. So I like to use that seal. I like to use the one-piece rear main seal that he makes if I have the crankshaft out. If the engine's in the car, I'll do a two-piece Viton rear main seal if I'm with the oil pan off and everything like that. So looking it over, here's the crankshaft. Now the crankshaft, somebody's been in here already, and oh, there's still a bearing on it. Is that a bearing? Yep, it is. So what's interesting is you can usually, this is a main bearing. When you look at it, there'll be numbers on it. Let's see if we can get this to focus. Let's try this. There we go. So if you look, the first line to the far right says 0.010. That means that the crankshaft journal has been ground smaller in diameter 10,000ths of an inch. So this bearing then is actually 10,000ths of an inch thicker than a standard bearing to take up that extra clearance. So when you assemble this bearing, the inside diameter of this bearing is 10,000 smaller to accommodate the smaller journal. Now when I looked at the rod bearings, these journals were actually turned down 20,000ths. So this crankshaft's been out. It's been repaired, put back in. Not sure why or what had happened. I'm actually going to get a different crankshaft for it. I'm going to get an older crankshaft, or a friend of mine's got one that's a standard cast crank, but it's standard journal. So if we do need to grind it, we'll be grinding it from scratch. Probably if it needs to be cleaned up, it'll probably be 10 on the mains and 10 on the rods. So then looking at the rods were actually, they're the pistons, I should say. The rods are stock too. You can see there's a little bit of rust on here. When the oil pan was removed, there was a mouse nest in it. So you can see why some of the things rusted up. Been sitting somewhere for a long time. One of the interesting things I noticed on here is this hatch pattern on the skirts of the pistons. Now these are standard pistons. They still had the, maybe you can see it. See the letter P right there? That denoted which, that was a size identifier for the factory. So the block is actually stamped with letters to match.
and there's like P and S and I think T and stuff like that, meaning, okay, this piston was mic'd out at such and such tolerance, so this bore was made to match, and so on. So those are standard factory Pontiac pistons. But that hatch pattern on the sides, I believe that is a knurl pattern. I'm pretty sure it is. I've never seen it in person, but I've heard of it. So basically, during a rebuild, if the piston skirts are scuffed or worn from use, and your piston to cylinder wall clearance is excessive to where you get what they call piston slap. In the morning, it kind of makes a little bit of a knocking noise, but once it gets some heat in it and the piston expands and takes up that extra tolerance, the noise goes away. So they would knurl the piston. They would put this pattern in there to actually kind of, like, all the little edges of those lines would be raised to kind of build up and take up some of that extra clearance in the cylinder walls due to wear. Pretty sure that's what it is. Like I said, I've never experienced it. I've never seen it in person, but I have heard of it. Knurling a piston just to take up the excessive clearance. Seems like they're all that way. Like I said, somebody's been in this motor. Luckily, it wasn't bored oversized on the cylinders yet. So not sure what we're going to do with if we're going to keep the connecting rods or not. If it comes down to it that these stock connecting rods need to be resized, which is basically splitting the two halves and taking material off each side, or basically off the rod cap side, bolting it back together, and then honing the hole round again. I know I'm going to be buying forged pistons for it. Other than that, let's flip this thing over and take a look at the cylinder walls. Okay, we got it flipped back over, taking a look at the cylinder walls. There is one little spot right there. Not sure. I think it's just wear. Possibly when the piston might have been stuck or something. But we're going to get this block. We're going to get this block magnafluxed, which is going to check for cracks. You can see, again, it's not pretty. It's sat. It got moisture in it. But for the most part, it's smooth. It did turn over. Some rings were stuck in the pistons. The cylinder wall's got a little bit of rust on it. But again, I think it's going to clean up with a 30 over bore. This is going to, and what I mean by that is we're going to probably bore it 30 thousandths over. Ooh, that one's kind of rough. We'll have to see. We'll have the machine shop check it out and see what they say. Oh, maybe that's coming off. It might be coming off. We'll have them check it out. If we do end up going 30 thousandths bigger, make the bore to cylinder actually 30 thousandths larger for a 30 thousandths larger piston, it will now become a 406 cubic inch. So yes, making the piston larger or making the crankshaft stroke, meaning how far the piston travels, increase either one of those or both, and you will increase the actual cubic inch of the engine. All right, so now we're going to get it, we'll get it loaded up on the truck, take it over to machine. Oh yeah, the cylinder heads are over here. Let's take a look at cylinder heads. Not bad. I mean, pretty much the same kind of condition. You can see that the motor did sit with a lot of moisture. So that's that one. What's this one? Yeah, definitely can be cleaned up. I know the intake ports are not pretty on this thing. In fact, I actually found a socket laying in one of these in the intake port. So lucky thing it wasn't started with it. But I don't see any problems with getting the cylinder heads fixed up on it. Probably get a 3-angle valve job done, you know, nice upgraded valve springs, stuff like that. And we'll have a good running engine. So thanks for watching, guys. This is going to be an exciting project. I'm all pumped up about it. So until next time.